back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to show you guys how to make this dress. So you see, the first thing I did was just to draft out my basic bodice dress pattern. So basically the shoulder divided by 2, came down 1 inch of shoulder slope, added my armhole length, and then my bust divided by 4, which is 42, divided by 4, 10.5, added my seam allowance, my waist divided by 4 plus 1 inch of darting, which is here, and then 1.5 of seam allowance. Hip divided by 4 plus 1.5 of seam allowance, and then down I brought down the same length measurement I have here down to this point. And then now the next thing I'm going to do is, if you notice, you will see that this part here I extended it, right? I extended the line here. This is because on this line here I'm going to be adding extra, let's say 3 inches, or you can even do 4 inches. It depends on you how free you want it to be. So I can do, let's say 3.5 inches from here, add it here. Now I'm going to connect it to my hip length. In the meantime, the length I have here is the length I want the dress to be plus seam allowance, which is 38. So I would end up with somewhere around 36 or so, or 36.5. So now I'm going to connect this up to the hip area. So from this point now, I'm going to angle it here. And then on this line here, I'm going to come up by at least 1 inch or 1.5, so that this point will not be sharp. And then I'm going to also blend it into this part here. So I'm going to blend it in from this point here all the way. So guys, this bodice here, I'm going to be using it for both the front and the back. The only difference now is that the front is going to have extra 1 inch by the center, which is going to serve as our zipper allowance. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and mark what we're going to the angle. So what you can do is, from this shoulder point now, I'm going to come down, let's say up to like 6 inches from the shoulder, which is going to be somewhere here. And then I'm going to connect it maybe like 3 inches down from the armhole. So I'm going to connect from that point to that point, somewhere here. Or you can just find a way to connect yours and just mark it how you would want yours to be. So let me go ahead and connect mine this way. So the main thing is that you don't want it too sharp, because if it's too sharp, guys, it will be hard for you to form that angle to join it together. So you don't want it too sharp, but you still want to show the length, the angles, right? So now I'm going to mark from this point all the way to this point, right? This is going to be the upper part of my angle. And then at the lower part, I'm going to do the same thing. For my hip line, which is from my shoulder, you see, I have my shoulder to my waist, my shoulder to my hip. So from the hip line, I'm going to do at least 4 inches down. So let's say that is somewhere here. And then I'm going to connect it all the way from the hip. You can do 4, you can do 5. I'm also going to connect it down like this. You see? So this is what my dress is going to look like. This is the upper part, and then this is the lower. I'm going to go ahead and trace it out so I can cut out my back panel. So guys, all I'm going to cut out is just the side measurements first before I even split it open. So guys, this is what I'm working with right now. So you see, I've cut out the excess on the side, and then that excess by here, and then cut off the shoulder slope, cut this off. Guys, we're going to be using this for both the front and the back. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to cut this part out and then cut this out here. But I'm thinking, I don't know if this line is too high, but I'm just going to use it that way, because I'm thinking if I should bring it down a little bit more. And also, guys, you notice that I have 1 inch for the back neckline, which I've cut out, and then 3 inches for the front neckline, which, because I'm still going to use this, I started with the back, right? So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, cut this out. The difference with the back now is that my dart is going to come up to the chest line at the back, but for the front, my dart is stopping here. So my chest line is here, which is the same line as this part here. This is where my back dart will stop. But you see, my front dart is stopping here in front. That's 1 inch before my bust line, my nipple line. And then the same point is where the dart will stop for both at the front, at the back, down here, the bottom leg of the dart. So now let's go ahead and cut this out, so we can trace just the center part on your Akara fabric. Guys, I'm going to first take you through the back panel. So this is what we have. So you see, this is what we traced before. You see, this is the upper part here. So how you're going to give it seam allowances, you remember the back doesn't have any center seam allowance. So what we have is just the 1/2 inch you're going to join at the top for the center part, which will be traced on Ankara at the top and then at the bottom, you see. And then on my fabric itself, the only part that has seam allowance is just the bottom that is going to meet here. This part, there's no seam allowance. The pepper is touching the edge. The neckline is just my 1 inch of neckline. Remember, this is our back panel. And then the same thing goes for the bottom part here. This is what I cut out for my bottom part. This is everything together. There's 1/2 inch at the bottom part here. The pepper is the length of the dress, so that's why I didn't add anything here. So watch and see where all my seam allowances are between this end of this part here that will join together with this one. When it comes together, I'll have the one piece here, and then join this part together, I'll have back this one piece here. So that is total of my back panel. There's nothing by the edge here. Everything is like that. So, and remember, everything for the back is cut on a fold. So this part here is actually folded into 2. So if I open this up now, the back, this part here is on a fold. Let me show you. So you see the fabric is folded into 2. So everything, this is on a fold, this is on a fold, this is on a fold. So let's move it aside and go to the front. See what it looks like. This is the upper part of the back, the center back, the lower part of the back, and then I'm still going to have a dart in here, right, from my waist down. And then remember, so let's set this aside now. So guys, this is it here. So guys, there's something I want to say here. So how you're going to do this is that for the front, you see there's fabric from the center part here, which is going to be our zipper allowance. But guys, there's something else you have to do when you're cutting it. So when you're cutting these parts with the angle that is going to come into this zipper allowance part, you have to follow the line. Like the angle of this is what you're going to follow as you're marking it. You see, when I got to this point here on my fabric, what I did was just I kept my hand straight on the fabric and I extended this into an angle. The same for this one here now on the upper part of this. As I came up here, I just extended it in form of this angle here and cut it upwards. That way this and this can meet together, because remember our pepper doesn't go into to form the placket. So I need to ensure that whatever I cut, because if I cut it in such a way that it goes straight like this across, it's not going to fit in, because it's now this, imagine this falls on top of this now and it's going this direction, it's going to be missing out something. So just go with the line of the seam allowance you're working with. You see how it's angled up? That's how this one is also angled up, and then the two of them will come together, join each other like this and form this straight line when I go to join it. Then if you come down to this bottom one now, you see when I was marking my seam allowance for this, the 1/2 inch for this part here, I just kept it straight, and you see this one is going down, the direction is going down here. So I made sure that the extension on the zipper allowance went down too with it, with that 1/2 inch tracing, right? So this is where the pepper would have ended like this, but then there's 1/2 inch of my tracing on top of it. The same for this one too. You see when I was joining it, this is what it looked like. You see 1/2 inch here, and then the same line of my tracing went the same 1/2 inch going down. You see, so you have to follow that direction so that when you go to join yours, if this falls on this now, it will create enough room for all your seam to go in and everything will align perfectly. It will not bulk up. So I'm going to, and then this one here is not cut on a fold. If you look at it, you see that this one is open. There's 2 pieces of this, and then there's 2 pieces of this. Likewise, this one, there's also 2 pieces of this one. So just like that, I'm going to take one side of each, join it together, join this one together, and then I'll bring it back so you guys will see what it looks like. Before that, don't forget that the front neckline, you're going to cut the 3 inches. So I'm going to cut out these 3 inches for my neckline instead of the 1 inch I used for the back. Now I can go in and cut it out because the neckline is supposed to be deeper in front. So guys, this is what it currently looks like. You see, I still have my zipper allowance here and also the back too. So what I have to do now, I want to cut my sleeve so that once I put in my sleeve, I can go ahead and close the seam all the way to the end. But before that, remember you're going to add a pocket if you want to. So how you're going to do it is come down here 10 inches from this point. You're going to leave about 6 inches opening here and then close up the rest. That 6 inches opening or 5 inches is going to be where your hand will fit in, and then you just insert your side pocket to it. So let me go ahead and cut my sleeve. So for my sleeve, this is what I'm going to be using. I'm not really making it a long sleeve, so I'm going to make it like 3/4 sleeve. This is the length I have here. What I'm going to do is just to measure about what I have is basically your sleeve width divided by, since it's going to be puffy, you can do your armhole divided by 2 plus maybe extra 2 inches more. And then I'm going to come down here by, like, I don't want it puffy at the top, so I'm just going to do a basic sleeve. So I'm just going to come down here, and then I'm going to mark a straight line all the way to the end here. You can do a puffy sleeve, right? But I don't want it puffy at the top, but I don't mind it being wide. So what I'm going to do is just give it a curve like this all the way to the end, but I'm going to leave the width of the sleeve the way it is, and then I'm going to cut this out. So guys, this is what I have right now. So I've coupled this together, joined the shoulder, added my sleeve. You see what one side looks like right now. So I've added this here. So you're just going to go ahead and make something like this. I just cut a straight piece of Ankara fabric. That's the way the length is. Cut it out. So it might be about 46 or so length here, but you can make yours shorter. It depends on you. So the next thing I'm going to do, I did already, is that I closed up this seam here all the way here, close this one all the way here, leaving about 11 inches because my sleeve is not coming all the way to my wrist, right? It's going to stop somewhere here. So that's why I have up to 11 inches here. But for you, if your sleeve is coming down here, you might have, like, let's say 6 or 8 or 7 inches in between open, right? So now you see I notched this point, and then I'm also going to notch the upper part of my sleeve, and you can see that I've closed it up, leaving about, I'm supposed to leave about 3 inches open in here. And what I'm going to do is, so I need to open this up even more, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it up the way it is from one side like this, and then I'm going to tuck it inside of this. So you're going to start from this end here, and then gather it as you go, gather it as you go, gather it as you go, and then come back all the way to the other side. So how you're going to do it is that you're going to tuck in the same way you've used 1/2 inch to cover this part here. You're going to tuck in this 1/2 inch here. You can even iron it, so you can also iron this part in. Just iron it so that it will be easier to sew, right? So it will look something like this. And then now you've already closed up the end of your sleeve, leaving about 3 inches or 3.5 here. And then you're going to take it the way it is, right? With the seam allowance folded. Start from one end, and then start to gather everything you have in between. Make sure that from one point to where the notch is, the notch on your fabric is fit into one side, and then from the other side to the other point, the gather will fit into that point. That way you will distribute it evenly. So you see I've already done this side. So you see what this one looks like. My seam allowance is folded into 2. So you see I have to open this up so that it will be as wide as this one, like at least 3 inches opening. So when you tie it, you're going to tie it something like this, right? And then remember, you also, once you're done, if you want, you can double stitch it before you stop your stitch, or you can also go ahead and top stitch it, cross over to this side and come back here. So that's what I'm going to do. Once I'm done, I'm going to use bias to run my neckline, right? And then we can add the zip. So guys, this is what I'm using for this sleeve, for the neckline. So basically I cut out my fabric on a bias like this, and then it's 2 inches of width, 1 inch on this side, 1 inch on the other side. So what I'm going to do is just tuck in 1/2 inch on each end here, and then 1/2 inch on this other end here like this, and then I'm going to close it up and fix this inside of this like this. Just put it in between it and sew it all the way around to the other end of it. Like I said, I cut it on a bias, and then it's 2 inches of width, 2 inches space here, 1 inch this side, 1 inch this side when it's folded. And then you're going to go ahead, tuck in 1/2 inch here, tuck in 1/2 inch on the other side, fold it into 2, take the neckline, put it in between it, and then go ahead and sew it all the way around. And then once that is done, I'm going to go ahead and insert my zip. And if you look at her own, you will see that her zip did not get to the end of the dress. The dress was closed at some point, right? It was closed at some point before the zip. It's just like how you put your zip at the back of your dress, right? It didn't go all the way in such a way that you can be able to separate it. But if you want, you can do your own like that. Like if you have the long zip to do that, but her own stopped somewhere down there, and then the zip continued. You understand? So she closed up the fabric on itself, and then her zip continued. So once I finish my neckline, I'll put in my zip and close up the end of my clothes. This is it here, it's done. You see my zip goes all the way to the top here, and then this is the inside here. I just turned it over, right? So that's basically how you do this here. You see how I came up here at the bottom, closed up the rest of the seam. And that's basically it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Guys, please like, share and subscribe. Bye.